Well, it's been a wild couple of days in crypto, hasn't it?
It really has. I don't think anyone saw this coming so fast.
I mean, President Trump barely finished moving back into the White House, and boom, he drops these two executive orders like right out of the gate.
Yeah, Tuesday was a busy day. Crypto and AI. Two massive topics.
Definitely seems like he's making good on those campaign promises.
For sure. And remember, not too long ago, he wasn't exactly a crypto fan. Those tweets, yikes.
Oh yeah, those are something else.
But now he's talking about making America the world leader in crypto.
I know, it's a complete 180, right? But hey, he did say he was going to shake things up.
And he's not messing around. David Sachs as the AI and crypto czar. Pardon for Ross Ulbricht. These are serious moves.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So let's talk about these executive orders. What's in them that's got everyone talking?
Okay, well, first off, both the White House and Reuters have confirmed the creation of a president's working group on digital asset markets. It is. Seriously. This isn't just some random committee. We're talking Treasury, the Justice Department, SEC, CFTC, the big players.
Wow, okay, so this is high-level stuff.
Yeah, and they've got a pretty intense to-do list. Like, within 60 days, they have to review all existing crypto regulations.
60 days, that's what, like 2 months?
Yep. It's a tight deadline, for sure. Shows how much priority they're putting on this.
And then what happens after the review?
Well, then the real work begins. They have 180 days to present a brand new regulatory framework to the president.
So basically, within 6 months, the whole crypto landscape in the U.S. could look completely different.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, it depends on what they come up with, but the scope is huge.
Okay, so walk us through it. What are the key things this new framework is supposed to address?
All right, well, based on what we're seeing from the White House, the official sources, they're looking at everything. Market structure, oversight, consumer protection, risk management, you name it.
Okay, so it's pretty comprehensive. But are there any specific areas that are getting more attention than others?
Definitely. Two things are really standing out. Stablecoins and this idea of a national digital asset stockpile.
All right, let's break those down. Stablecoins first. Most of our listeners are probably familiar, but just in case, can you give us a quick explainer?
Sure thing. Stablecoins are basically cryptocurrencies that are designed to hold a stable value, usually pegged to something like the US dollar. Makes them less volatile than, say, Bitcoin, so potentially more useful for everyday transactions.
Right, like actually buying things with them.
Exactly. And the EO is specifically talking about promoting the use of dollar-backed stablecoins globally.
Interesting. So they see it as a way to kind of extend the influence of the U.S. dollar in this new digital world.
That's the idea, it seems. Now, the National Digital Asset Stockpile is a bit more mysterious.
Yeah, that one's got everyone buzzing.
Basically, it means the government could start holding cryptocurrencies as part of its reserves, maybe even Bitcoin.
That's huge, right? Like, I know Bitcoin surged over 50% after Trump's election, but then it dipped a bit after the EOs were announced.
It did, yeah. I think some people were hoping he'd go all in on a Bitcoin reserve, like full steam ahead.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what do you make of it? Just the fact that they're even considering it?
I think it's a big deal. I mean, for the U.S. government to even think about holding Bitcoin, it lends it a legitimacy we haven't seen before.
And what about globally? Could this have an impact on other countries?
It could, definitely. You can bet other governments are watching this closely. It might trigger a domino effect.
Like a crypto arms race almost?
Exactly. Imagine countries feeling pressured to follow suit, to stock up on crypto, just to keep up with the U.S. We could be witnessing the start of something really significant.
Wow. That's pretty wild to think about.
It is. It is.
Okay, so stablecoins and a potential national digital asset stockpile. Two big things to keep an eye on. What else is in this crypto EO that's got people talking?
Well, another major point is the protection of banking services for crypto companies.
Ah, yeah, that's been a huge pain point for the industry, hasn't it?
For sure. Reuters had a great piece recently highlighting how hard it's been for crypto companies to access traditional banking services.
Like regulators have been making it really tough for them, right?
Yep. Lots of roadblocks, which has really stifled growth.
So what does the EO say about that?
Basically, it says that crypto companies need to have access to these services. It's a clear directive to protect those services.
And what kind of impact could that have?
I think it could be massive. It removes a major barrier to entry, attracts more investment, and could lead to a real boom in innovation.
Right, because if you can't even get a bank account, it's pretty hard to run a business, right?
Exactly. And this isn't just good for the companies, it's potentially good for consumers, too.
How so?
Well, more competition and innovation in financial services means more options and potentially lower fees for everyone.
So this move could actually have a real impact on the average person who's interested in crypto.
It very well could. Now, on the flip side, there's one part of the EO that's causing some controversy.
Oh, which part is that?
The ban on central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, in the U.S.
Wow, really? I'm actually surprised by that. I thought there were some pretty compelling arguments in favor of CBDCs, like financial inclusion and efficiency.
There are, yeah. But this EO says, no way, not going to happen. Section 5 specifically prohibits any agency from establishing, issuing, or even promoting CBDCs here in the U.S. and internationally.
Interesting. So they're basically rejecting the whole concept outright.
It seems that way, yeah. The administration sees them as a threat to the U.S. dollar and individual privacy. They're putting their chips on private crypto innovation.
That's a bold stance for sure. Quite a contrast to the previous administration, which seemed much more open to the idea of a digital dollar.
Totally. It's a complete 180. And I think it's going to have some major ripple effects globally. It'll be interesting to see how other countries react.
So it's like they're drawing a line in the sand.
Exactly. Private crypto, good. Government-controlled digital currency, bad.
A clear message. Now, speaking of reactions, Bloomberg reported that Coinbase is over the moon about these EOs, calling them a sea change for the industry. But I've also seen some folks who are more cautious, wishing for more concrete action.
Right, that makes sense. I mean, the crypto world thrives on clarity, and they've been dealing with so much uncertainty for years.
Like a patchwork of regulations not knowing what's coming next.
Exactly. These EOs offer a vision, but the details are still fuzzy. Implementation is key, and there's going to be pushback. It's just the beginning.
Yeah, the real work is just getting started.
For sure. But it's definitely a major shakeup with the potential to reshape the whole crypto landscape.
All right, so we've got this ambitious plan to make America the world capital on crypto, with a focus on stablecoins, the possibility of a national digital asset stockpile, the protection of banking services for crypto companies, and a firm rejection of CBDCs. It's a lot to unpack. But before we dive into the nitty-gritty of the actual executive order, I want to touch on something that caught my eye in that Bloomberg article. They pointed out that this whole focus on U.S. leadership in crypto, it's not just policy for Trump. It seems pretty personal.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He's been into NFTs, had his own crypto projects, and now there's this World Liberty Financial thing he's involved with.
Which, by the way, no one really knows what that is yet, which just adds to the intrigue.
It's all very interesting. So from crypto skeptic to crypto evangelist, what happened?
Hard to say for sure. Maybe he saw the potential. Maybe he's just always a step ahead. Whatever it is, he's definitely all in now.
Well, it's going to be fascinating to see how this all plays out.
Absolutely. Buckle up, because things are about to get interesting. It's a whole new ball game, that's for sure.
All right, so we've got the big picture. Now let's zoom in a little, look at some of the specifics from the executive order itself.
Sounds good.
I was going through the White House release earlier, and one thing that really jumped out at me was the language around open public blockchains.
Oh, yeah, that's crucial.
The RIO specifically talks about protecting the ability of people and companies to participate in these networks, without fear of persecution or anything.
Right, like they're acknowledging the whole decentralized ethos of crypto, trying to prevent any kind of government overreach that could stifle innovation.
Exactly. It's like they're saying, hey, these open networks are important. We're not going to mess with that.
Which is huge, because that's what a lot of people were worried about.
And then there's the commitment to regulatory clarity, which we talked about earlier.
Yeah, that's a big one.
The ERO really stresses the need for regulations that are, technology neutral and can adapt to this constantly evolving landscape.
Because let's face it, the old financial regulations, they just don't fit this new world of digital assets.
It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, right?
Exactly. We've seen it with the SEC struggling to figure out how to classify certain cryptocurrencies, how securities laws apply. It's been a mess.
A total Wild West, like you said before.
And the industry has been begging for clear guidelines for years, so this focus on clarity and adaptability, it's a welcome change.
It's like they're finally acknowledging that crypto is here to stay, and they need to figure out how to work with it, not against it.
Right. It signals that the administration is actually taking a thoughtful approach, which could lead to more mainstream adoption, more investment, all that good stuff.
Okay, so we've got these broad goals, the emphasis on clarity, but how does the EO actually plan to make it all happen? Like, what are the concrete steps?
Well, that's where this president's working group on digital asset markets comes in.
Right, the all-star team from all the different agencies.
Exactly. They have a very clear mission. First up, identify and review all existing crypto regulations within 60 days.
Again with the 60 days. Seems like a really aggressive timeline.
It is. but it shows they're serious. No time to waste.
And what happens after the 60 days are up?
Then the real work begins. They've got 180 days to come up with recommendations for a brand new regulatory framework, which they present to the president.
So 6 months from now, we could have a whole new set of rules for crypto in the U.S.
Yeah, it's a real possibility. And like we discussed, that framework needs to address some big questions. Stablecoins, the potential national digital asset stockpile, market structure, consumer protection, risk management, the whole 9 yards.
It's a lot to tackle, for sure, but it's also a huge opportunity to do something really groundbreaking, create a system that actually works.
Couldn't agree more. If they get this right, it could set a global standard for crypto regulation.
Now, one thing we haven't talked about yet is the potential for a U.S. central bank digital currency, a CBDC.
Right.
There's been a lot of talk about that lately, with other countries exploring it.
There has, but this EO pretty much slams the door on that. Section 5 explicitly prohibits any agency from establishing, issuing, or even promoting CBDCs, both here and abroad.
Wow. So no digital dollar anytime soon.
Doesn't look like it. The administration seems to think CBDCs are a threat to the US dollar, to privacy, the whole shebang. They're putting their faith in private crypto.
It's a pretty stark contrast to the last administration, wasn't it? They were actively looking into CBDCs, even ran some pilot programs.
Totally different approach. And this is going to have a huge impact on the global CBDC landscape you watch.
Like, it could discourage other countries from pursuing their own digital currencies, or maybe even have the opposite effect, push them to speed things up to create an alternative to the dollar.
Yeah, it's hard to say for sure how it's all going to play out. This is totally uncharted territory.
All right, so to sum up, we've got a pretty clear vision from the administration when it comes to crypto.
Seems like it, yeah.
Make America the global leader, focus on stablecoins, explore the possibility of a national digital asset stockpile, protect banking access for crypto companies, and say no to CBDCs. It's a bold plan, that's for sure.
Definitely.
But what does it all mean for the average person, the everyday crypto enthusiast? That's what I want to get into next.
Okay, so we've been talking big picture stuff, global impact, government policy, all that. But let's bring it down to earth for a minute. What does all of this actually mean for, someone listening to this right now, someone who's maybe just getting into crypto or thinking about it?
Well, I think the main takeaway is that the U.S. government is officially embracing crypto now.
There's a big shift, right?
Huge. And I think that shift could have a bunch of positive effects for everyday people who are, interested in this space.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Okay, so first off, all this talk about regulatory clarity, that could make it way easier and safer for you to actually get involved in the crypto market.
Because right now it can feel kind of scary, right? Like you don't know who to trust, what the rules are.
Yeah, it's a bit of a Wild West out there, which can be intimidating for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But with clearer rules, you know what's allowed, what's not allowed, less risk of getting scammed or running into legal problems.
Mm-hmm.
So basically a more level playing field.
Exactly. And that could encourage more people to, dip their toes in, try it out, which could lead to wider adoption, more businesses accepting crypto, more cool applications being developed.
Right, because if more people using it, it becomes more useful.
Exactly. And then there's the potential impact on the whole financial system, beyond just crypto.
You mentioned earlier that protecting banking services for crypto companies could actually benefit consumers indirectly.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work?
Competition, basically. When crypto companies have an easier time getting bank accounts, they can compete more effectively with traditional banks and financial institutions.
So more choices for consumers.
More choices, potentially better products, lower fees, that kind of thing.
Interesting. So the ripple effects could be pretty significant.
They could, yeah. And, if the U.S. really does become this world capital on crypto that the administration is talking about, that could have a global impact, drive innovation in ways we can't even imagine yet.
So potentially a lot of upside.
Potentially, yeah. But it's important to remember we're still in the early stages here.
Right. These are just executive orders.
Exactly. They set a direction. But there's a lot of work to be done. Congress, lobbying groups, legal challenges. It's going to be a long road.
And it's important to remember, there are always unintended consequences, right? Anytime you try to change a system as complex as the financial system, things can go wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Which is why it's so important to stay informed, be critical of the information you're seeing, and, have these conversations about the future of crypto.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into President Trump's executive orders on crypto. Definitely a lot to think about, a lot to discuss. But like we said, this is a fast-moving space. So stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next episode, where we'll be tackling another big topic, artificial intelligence. We'll see you then.